shit, yeah, they bread stank. Walk up in the club, dripping like I'm fresh paint. I could see through the facade like an...
What's going on, fight fans? It's another great day when you love MMA. Welcome back to Mad Matty Fight Talk. So a huge, massive fight card just went down in Madison Square Garden. UFC 281 stole the show for the year. The fight card was extremely packed. There's some really good fights on there. Actually, before we get into it, I just want to say rest in peace to Anthony Rumble Johnson. He just passed away today, 38 years young. If you guys don't know who that is, go check out some highlights. You won't be disappointed. One of my favorite fighters of all time. Not my favorite, but he's up there. But the dude's a heavy hitter. Fought at 170, fought at 205. So I just want to say rest in peace to the big guy. Moving on to the UFC 281 main card. We had the middleweight championship on the line between Israel, the last style bender, Adesayna, taking on the newcomer and a guy he's had some history with, Alex Pereira from Brazil. And Alex Pereira gets the job done late in the fight, ends up TKOing Adesayna, who honestly hasn't lost a middleweight since coming to the UFC. So I'm curious what you thought about his performance and, you know, what's next for Stylebender. How did you see the fight? What did you think about it?
Yeah, Alex Poitin Pereira, Hands of Stone is his nickname. It's Poitin is Hands of Stone for it's Portuguese translation. Just so everybody knows, that's what they gave this guy as a nickname because they know how heavy of a hitter he is. Now, there's one thing I was saying going into this fight. This is the first time we saw Israel Adesanya not talking a lot of shit, not talking a lot of trash before the fight. He didn't come in doing no fancy anything or wearing, carrying an urn. He didn't go in there and normally he goes through this whole anime stuff. He did a quick thing and that was it. You could tell he's very, very focused on this fight, and that's how serious he was taking this opponent. Now, I had it scorecard wise. I had 3-1 Adesanya. A lot of people I know scored it 2-2. I don't see how that was possible. Pretty dominant third round. You could even give third round a 10-8 because it was so dominant by the champion. Now, the way I saw this fight was very interesting. It was a lot like their kickboxing fight. The end of round one, had us at the edge of our seats. Pereira takes a big right hand. I thought he went out. He drops. He's a big dude. He dropped very low, got back up, ate a left hook, and did the shimmy. Now I thought going in, he's rocked. He's hurt. There's no way he's going to recover that fast. But his experience has shown time and time again. He took the next round to go slow, used his leg kicks, really compromising Adesanya's leg. Third round went in it. Adesanya's leg was compromised, and that's why I think he initiated the takedown. Fourth round was very competitive back and forth. Into the fifth round.
All right, before we get to the fifth round, you're just skipping over the whole part where Adesanya was completely outclassing him in a kickboxing match. Adesanya looked
I don't think he was out kickboxing him.
Bro, his jab was so fast. His defense wasn't the best, but I expected that going against a guy that's his size and that good at kickboxing.
Hold on. If you look at the fourth round, Adesanya was out jabbed. Yes, Adesanya had some very nice combinations.
Yeah, the fourth round is when things started getting real. But
you have to take into consideration who was engaging the clinch. It was Adesanya. Pereira wasn't. He was standing there.
I don't care. It's an MMA fight. Of course, he's going to engage a clinch against a guy who's knocked him out. But dude, the first 3 rounds, Adesanya was picking him apart. Alex Pereira, the reason history was made is because his coaches, and I give these guys credit, made a beautiful moment. They told him what every fucking real coach should tell their fighter in that situation. If you do not knock this guy out, you are going to lose this fight. He was getting outworked, and he started making a late comeback. But go ahead.
I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you. I already said my scorecards had it 3-1 Adesanya, but I don't think that it was so outclassed. You're talking about a guy who did what Adesanya couldn't in glory kickboxing, becoming a 2 different weight class champion 2 times each time.
Dude,
that's something special. This guy's a high-level character. A high-level kickboxer, and that's why he was able to finish him in the 5th round.
I'm talking about the actual fight, where Adesanya fucked up in this fight was engaging in the clinch, because that is where Alex Pereira did a lot of the real work and damage. He was landing some serious shots from in close. Adesanya thought he was going to just be able to grapple this guy, but this guy's clinch game was nasty. He was landing nice knees, nice uppercuts, short punches. Adesanya should have did what he was doing in the first 2 rounds. Let him push the pace and keep countering him, stay off the fence just a little bit, but he's kept inviting the clinch.
I agree. I think the first round could have easily went to Pereira if Adesanya didn't catch him with that big ending. Easily.
It could have gone either way, but I think that Pereira was working more body and more leg kicks, which paid off later in the fight. So good for him.
I do agree with you. However, the clinch game, it showed how strong Pereira was because he was handling Adesanya. I haven't seen Adesanya buckle to knees before, and you saw every time he got kneed in the stomach, it hurt him. It affected his win. It affected his cardio for sure.
I mean, I don't know how bad it really affected him until after the fight because both of these guys have probably the best poker faces I've ever seen for MMA fighters. They showed no pain, nothing on the face. It was a blank face for both these guys. This was an awesome fight to watch, and this is why MMA is such a great sport because you have moments like this. You could be losing the whole fight, and it doesn't matter. The fight's not over till it's over. And Pereira did what his coaches told him. He went out there and he pushed the pace. He emptied the gas tank. Now, this is what irritates me about all of the other opponents that Adesanya has. And it's just so interesting. And I guess the mental factor for him winning the previous fights, Pereira knew that he could, if he touches him, he could sleep him. But maybe that's what the other guys were lacking. But nobody presses Adesanya when they're losing like that. They're so scared to get finished or run into a problem. That's what you need to do. That is what you need to do when you're losing a fight like that.
That leads into my point, right? Adesanya knew how high level of a kickboxer Pereira was, and Pereira looked like he was a fucking light heavyweight in there. Let's be honest, that dude is massive. They said it's 6'4", 6'4". He easily could be an inch above Adesanya, and he's definitely a body weight above, like body size above him for sure. So do I give Adesanya massive credit for being able to just pick him apart? Absolutely. But every time you saw Pereira's jab or left hook connect, Adesanya's eyes got big and he was worried and he made sure to be moving out of the way.
Of course he was. That guy's a fucking beast ass kickboxer. Look, Adesanya deserves a lot of credit even though he lost because he did not have to take this fight. He really didn't have to take this fight. He could have made Alex Pereira wait forever. Seriously, he really didn't have to. That's the competitor in him. He's fought 3 times this year as a champion. What other champion is doing that? Nobody. And on top of that, he's taking on a guy who got knocked out by. So the competitor spirit in Adesanya, I love that about him. Pereira, congratulations. You did get the knockout. You are the middleweight champion. So my question to you now is, do we get an immediate rematch here? Because this throws a lot of cards into the deck for Pereira. And for me, real quick, I would like to see an immediate rematch because I don't know. I mean, Alex's clinch game's good, but if you put him in there with a guy who can grapple really, really good, not a Vittori, but more like a guy who can strike and grapple, somebody like Paulo Costa, Robert Whitaker, those guys mix it up really well. And I mean, obviously, if Alex touches you, that's the game ender. But I'm curious what you think is the next step after this.
Nobody's gonna like my opinion. I say no immediate rematch, and it's not the fact that Adesanya is not deserving. I think it's more just a smart career move for Adesanya. One, the division is kind of backed up. Robert Whitaker has made it around again for the 3rd time. If he beats Paulo Costa, I mean, he's clearly where Max Holloway is with Volkanovski. There's nobody better. He's definitely the number 2 guy. Now we have a third party with Alex Pereira, right? Poatan. So when we're looking at the situation, I think personally, I would let Robert fight Paulo. If Robert wins, definitely let him fight Alex and see what Alex got against a well-rounded competitor just like Robert. You know, somebody who's really good at getting into the grappling and all of that stuff.
I think either one of those guys would be good. Paulo Costa, you can't. That guy's a high-level grappler as well.
Let me finish my thought, though. The reason I'm saying that is because Adesanya is so busy, man. Like you said, as a champion, it takes a lot of stress on your life. It takes a lot of training hours. Sometimes you need that recovery time, and I don't think he really had enough recovery time or a break long enough to really go into this third combat match with Alex Pereira. I think he needs that break. And like Robert Whitaker said, right? I don't need an immediate rematch. Let him fight a bunch of dudes. I'll come back the second time if I earn it. And I think that's how Adesanya should approach it career-wise, for his health, for just, being able to take a break. Does he deserve an immediate rematch? Absolutely. There's nobody else in that weight division that deserves an immediate rematch besides Adesanya. Does that benefit him? I don't know. I don't.
Well, because of how dominant of a champion Adesanya was, and let's be real here, he was fucking everybody up in the middleweight. They're probably they're realistically going to give him another rematch if he wants it. I'm pretty sure the opportunity is there. Dana White usually doesn't make fights, but in his press conference he said, "Oh yeah, we're definitely going to entertain that." because Pereira was getting work and then came back and won. I mean, it was competitive, but it was 10-9, 10-9, or maybe a few rounds could have gone either way. But Adesayna had the edge in the scorecards, I think. Regardless, it was 3-2, or it would have been 3-2.
Yeah, I had it 3-1 Adesanya. I thought he needed to just cruise to victory. It would have been 2-3.
But
3-2, and Audi would have been the Izzy would have been the remaining champion. But Poaton's power was indeed the deciding factor in that fight.
Now that brings me to my next point: is if Glover Teixeira, who's in his corner, doesn't beat Yuri Prochazka, if he loses to Yuri in December, that gives him an opportunity to go up to 205 and potentially be a double champ in literally the shortest amount of time that anybody's ever done it. So there's a lot of things that could go for him, and that fight to me favors Alex Pereira even more. So I don't know if that's something he wants to entertain. I mean, obviously he's hoping Glover wins. We'll see what happens with that, but there's a lot of opportunities here. So shout out to Alex Pereira for getting the job done.
I think it makes sense for immediate rematch. I'd just like to see Adesanya take a break, clean up the division, let some new workhorses get in there and really push Alex Pereira's capabilities and talents, and then go from there. But let's talk about the female strawweight championship that was on the line.
Co-main event.
Zhang Weili trying to come in there, become a two-time champion against the new, who at the time knew Carla Esparza, two-time champion. How did you see that fight go down?
Well, to be completely honest, I was actually pretty impressed with the way Carla came out in that fight.
Me too.
Look, we all know what happened. Weili absolutely ran through her when she started to turn it on. That is exactly how I pictured it. What I didn't expect was Carla to touch her chin 3 or 4 times clean before Weili really did anything. Weili, you could tell that, I don't care what she says, you could see by the way she was coming at her in the first 10 seconds that she did not respect this girl and that she thought she was better all around. And I saw Esparza touch her chin pretty good, 3-4 times clean on the jaw. I mean, she should have tried to send one of those home because she did. I was just going to say, I mean, her and Nama Nunez is 1-1. And I know, or she won. No, she's 0-2 to Nama Nunez.
Yeah, so Nama Nunez are out.
Yeah, so she might want to give Nama Nunez a shot at the belt just to get that back. Or Esparza, could make a claim that she could fight again. Or there's that other girl from China who just beat I think her name's Rodriguez, or Rodriguez, whatever, the Brazilian chick, Zhao, whatever. I forget her name. That chick's badass too. Now you have a China on China fight. There's a lot that could go on in that division, but it was a masterclass. Weili's a fucking beast, dude. Her grappling and her striking is she's too good for them.
I want to touch on what you said. I think Carla set a different pace, and it really threw off Weili's timing. If you notice that in the first couple of minutes of that fight, Weili couldn't Carla was landing some solid jabs, and Weili was like, damn, I'm getting touched up over here. But as it progressed, her corner kept saying, set up the takedown. And that's where I think after the first scramble, which was a fucking awesome fight, awesome scrambles, awesome transitions by these ladies. Nothing but mad respect to both of them. Carla's obviously on the later side of her career, but I thought the timing was off and it kind of made me nervous. But Weili came out in the second round like a Chinese firecracker on fucking January 1st and absolutely exploded all over the place. And she was not taking no for an answer. And you could just see the determination in her in the second round. As you saw Carla's determination kind of dwindle, she kind of couldn't get the takedown so easy. And
well, look, when
she got the ground, but she wasn't able to hold her down.
She barely got her down, and she got flip position immediately once she even attempted to take her down. Now there's a moment in the first round, like 2.5 minutes in, when you saw Weili really letting loose with the power and start hitting her hard. It was a Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes 2 moment where Amanda Nunes knew, okay, I got this bitch's number now. You could just tell that she knew, okay, this girl's fucking turning it on, and she just had to try and weather a storm. She could not do it. Look, the fact of the matter is, Weili is too athletic for her. She's a stronger wrestler, and she's a fucking way heavier hitter. It's just nothing you can do about that. I have nothing more to say about it.
Who do you think Weili should fight next?
I'd say you probably put Rose Namajunas in there, or make Rose fight somebody to fight her. Because Rose, even though she lost to Esparza,
I think that Chinese girl versus Rose gets the next shot at the title. The winner.
I agree as well. So we're gonna move on to the people's main event. one of the biggest fights on the fight card was between Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. Now, I maybe I was spoiled by the Chandler Gaethje fight where I thought this one is going to be exactly like that one. To my surprise, Dustin Poirier, he's just one of those guys, man. He's so fucking composed in there, and he sticks to technique. Chandler really just lost his mind and is so set on crowd pleasing people that he was just throwing absolutely reckless. I mean, it was a good fight regardless, and there were some moments in there where he definitely did some dirty shit, as Dustin Poirier would say, where he tried to rip his mouth open to pull a fucking rear naked choke. But I was going for Michael Chandler, but I was so impressed with how Dustin Poirier fought in that fight, especially after how the second round went.
I had Dustin winning this fight, and I'm a huge Michael Chandler's fan since Bellator when he fought Eddie the first time. I think I was in middle school and I watched it and I was like, wow, this guy's a beast. Huge fan, many years, 3-time Bellator champion, 3 or 4-time Bellator champion. I mean, the guy's an absolutely freak phenomenon, athletic as it comes, explosive as it gets. Now, here's the problem I have with him. And Dustin said this in his post-fight interview. He said if he wobbled me one good time against the fence and I covered up, and he likes to throw looping punches is what saved me. If he threw straight, he would have got me out of there.
Yeah, he was not patient.
He was so determined to put the damage on and just continue to be this fucking wrecking ball of a man. Now, Chandler did amazing in the second round where I thought, damn, Dustin exploded his nose at the end of the first round. We like super crazy combinations back and forth. Boom, rocks Michael Chandler, catches him with a clean straight left to open up the nose. Going into the second, I'm like, damn, this fight's over. Chandler pulls out big takedowns, huge takedowns, gets Dustin to the ground and rides him out for the whole second round. How did you see the second round going into the third?
What do you mean? How did I see it? Everybody saw the same thing. Michael Chandler completely dominated.
I mean, how did you see the fight going? Excuse me. How did you see the fight going into the third?
Here's, to me, one of the biggest changing points in the fight was in the first round when Dustin Poirier leg checked one of those kicks really hard. I thought that Michael Chandler may have broken a part of his foot, the top of his foot. It was swollen. So for him to keep fighting through that was impressive. I look, Chandler, if you've seen him fight, has problems where he gets leg kicked and his leg will just give out. He's tough as fuck and he'll fight through it. But that's a real problem for that guy. Going into the second round, I was like, okay, he starts taking him down. I was like, this is a smart move by Michael Chandler. Now, what he underestimated was how good of a Brazilian black belt Dustin Poirier is. Poirier has been in there with Khabib. He's been in there with Charles Oliveira. Poirier said it himself. I'm not losing by submission again. And I mean, Michael Chandler's tough, but the blood makes him slippery. He was able to get them down and, put him in a rear naked choke himself and win by a submission. I just think that if Michael Chandler, when he hurt Poirier or when he cracked him right off the bat, if he would have, instead of just coming in and throwing all this crazy shit, do what a real, what Anderson Silva would do, sit there and just send straights, move his, you know what I mean? Like, do something where you're making him count. I think when the crowd starts yelling, because I think he's so excited to be in the UFC, he literally is like, fuck, I want fight of the, he wants fight of the night so bad that he doesn't care if he loses. That, to me, is a problem. I don't like that shit. I think that that's very weird that you are willing to take a loss just to be a crowd pleaser. I mean, I love it, but I hate it because I do love watching him fight.
I think as a fighter, when you're in your 30s and midway through your 30s, I think you really got to consider taking damage and trying to use your technique and what your attributes are wrestling. If he wrestled the way he did in round 3, the way round 2 went, he would have won that fight 2-1 easily. So
yeah, if Chandler would have, sorry to cut you off, but if Chandler would have came out, cracked him, and did what he did and changed levels earlier, it would be a different story. If he fought smart, he's a tough, hard guy to beat. But dude, he lays it all on the line too much.
I think a big question is what's next for Dustin Poirier? Habib has him fighting Beneil Dariush. What do you think?
Dustin is open to that fight as well. Dustin says that Beneil has definitely earned his shot, which he definitely has. Now with Makhachev taking on Volkanovski, which is going to go down February 11th, that's set in stone. That leaves a door open for an interim title. Now we have Yair taking on Emmett, so that's set because of this Makhachev mega fight. So with that being said, you're going to have to do something for the lightweights as well. Now if Makhachev wins, you don't need an interim champion. You can just kind of, maybe set up another opponent to give him a break. But I see Dustin taking on Beneil and Chandler. Man, I don't know what to do with you, bro. Like you're a crowd pleaser, but you're gonna have to start taking lower fights now because you just
Yeah.
shot blanks here.
Yeah, I think the next thing, I think the next thing for Michael Chandler is to take a step down in rankings, fight somebody that looks more to be, even matchup, somebody in the top 10, but on the lower side of the top 10.
Well, speaking of that, a good fight for him actually. In the same weight class, Dan Hooker on the same fight card. There could be a rematch there. Dan Hooker came out and fought fucking great. The main card fight opener fought Claudio Puelles and showed some really good submission defense.
I don't want to talk about that fight because he just shut him out, completely shut out. I mean,
yeah, but you can't take away Claudio's skills, bro. Like he was in some serious trouble in the first round.
I'm not taking away his skill set, but I mean, I'm looking at vintage Dan Hooker. He shut him completely out. Claudio just did not have a chance. He did not look comfortable in the big show on the main card.
What I will say is for Dan Hooker, I really underestimated you. I thought, look, sometimes when fighters go through a series of losses, they break down and they just keep losing. I'm glad because I do like this guy to see that he's turned it around and that he's not a quitter mentally. That right there to me is like that makes me even a bigger fan because you're on a losing streak and you come back and you fucking end the fight with teep kicks to the stomach. It was just great to see him come back and win. I thought Claudio was going to win because what he did in the first round is what I really thought was going to happen the whole fight. But then he just got tired and desperate and Hooker made him look like, for lack of better words, a fucking bitch.
I think the problem there was Claudio hasn't fought world-class competition like Hooker. So Hooker was just more comfortable in dangerous situations on the main card in the big limelight. Everybody on pay-per-view paid for you. And Claudio was trying to please. He was trying to finish, but he ended up losing gas tank.
I think he was so well, go ahead.
I was going to say, hats off to Dan Hooker. Congratulations. I'm personally happy. I'm a big fan of Dan Hooker from back in the day. I like watching him get W's, so I'm happy to see him win.
Look, we got to eat our words, though. We threw that man under the bus. So we have, we both took flawless winning.
Look, I didn't know if he was going to win or not, but I placed a bet on him and I won that night. So, you know what I mean?
Okay, well, I'm just saying off the last video, if there's history of this.
Yeah, no.
We said, oh, fuck this fight. He's going to lose.
I just said hats off to the man, and I made a last decision pick because I looked at their last couple fights, and I really thought to myself, he's fighting such high-level competition. Sometimes you're not going to win.
Look,
you know what I mean?
This is
you look at Nasrat when he's fought him. Nasrat's a fucking serious contender, and he shut him out too. So you have.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing about MMA. You can't put all your eggs into one basket. Claudio's had so many nasty leg lock finishes that he just thinks, I could just tell by the way he was fighting, if I grab this motherfucker's leg, it's over. And that's all he was doing. It took me back to 2008 when the UFC was signing lackluster competition that had no cardio, and these motherfuckers would be laying in their guard on the ground, and the ref would have to keep standing them out. It was just cracking me up. I was like, man, this guy's really tired.
So real quick, Dustin Poirier, Beneil Dariush, we both agree on that. Michael Chandler could possibly rematch with Dan Hooker. Shout out to Dan Hooker on his victory. Let's get into. I want to talk about two more fights and we'll get out of here. But I want to talk about the fucking finishing ability of Chris Gutierrez, El Guapo, the handsome one, goes in there and unfortunately sends Frankie Edgar on his way with a big loss.
Listen,
and how do you see that happen?
Listen, guys like Frankie Edgar, Marlon Moraes. Let me think of there's Chuck Liddell, dude. There just comes a time where for your own health, you guys have families. You guys have kids. You can get, dude, you talk about football players getting CTE. You got knocked out viciously 3 times in a row. What did you think was going to happen? All the fights with Gray Maynard, all the damage you've taken over your career. Why would you go in there with a killer? I get it. One last ride, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, dude, realistically, you're going in there and he shut your fucking lights out. You didn't even make it out of the first round. Like, everybody's like, Frank Edgar's a legend. I get it. To me, I'm like, dude, whatever, bro. But there comes a time where it's like, the Sandhagen fight should have been it. Save your brain cells. I don't know why what the fuck? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I dated back further than that. When you're the champion at 155 and have an amazing run, and then you go down and you fight for the belt against Jose Aldo and lose, then you fight for the belt again against Max Holloway and lose, that's where you should have hung up your career. Most people don't even get that. Most people don't get to even be a fucking champion.
And that's,
you were a weight class 2 times above your natural weight class.
I agree. And that's exactly why I respect Jose Aldo. He lost a very close decision in a fight where he didn't take much damage, but he knows, why should I keep fighting? I'm going through these crazy weight cuts. You know what I mean? I busted my ass to get down here. I tried. you know what? I'm gonna end it on a good note. It's okay to do that.
Let's send Frankie on a proper way out. I respect the man, absolute fucking legend. We're only saying, look, for you guys out there fighting, or people in the UFC, take the coach's advice, take your family's advice, cut it out early. You don't
let
need
your pride get in the way.
Don't let your arrogance and pride get in the way. Don't be a tough guy forever. There's serious repercussions for getting brain damage. Now, I wish the man the best. I hope he takes care of his kids and family. I hope he has a long, healthy life. And I want to talk about Chris Gutierrez. With a big knockout like that, where do you see him? Do you see him fucking in the top 5 now, or in the top 10 at least?
I don't know, bro. That's a very, very fucking hard division to be in right now. That to me is
let me just say, he's on a 7-fight winning streak, and he won 4 of them by KO.
That's very, very impressive. And I'm telling you, the fights that guy has coming up, none of those fights are going to be easy.
Should fight Song Yudong.
I don't think so. I think if I was Chris Gutierrez, I would be asking for Rob Font. Because Song Yudong
too.
But because the reason I would ask for Rob Font is because he's a high-ranking opponent who has taken some ass whoopings of lately. Now, Rob Font's very good.
But Rob Font is a big name, though.
Rob Font's a big name, but I'm saying he's right now is a good time to fight him.
Because him on the losing end is what you're saying, right?
Yes. Like, I love Rob Font. I love the way that guy fights. But as of right now, he's just got beat by I think Cody Garbrandt and fucking Marlon Vera they did some work on him. So if I'm Gutierrez, I'm like, okay, I want to fight that guy. You're gonna go and fight Song Yudong. I get it. He's number 10, but he just had a war with Sandhagen. And if it wasn't for his eye getting cut, that was a very, very competitive fight.
He in fact was winning on the scorecards against Sandhagen.
And Sandhagen could be going to fight for a belt. So that shows you what level. Dude, Ricky Simone, that weight class. Wait, is Ricky Simone? He's a featherweight.
Yeah, Ricky Simone's been knocking on the door for a long time.
Those are tough fights, bro.
He already has a win over Dolaviv or whatever that guy is, the one that trains with Aljo.
Oh, Marab. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, bro,
he has choked him unconscious right at the final buzzer.
Dude, no fight in that weight class is going to be easy. But if I'm him, I'm asking for Rob Font. Now,
okay, let's do this. I want to talk real quick about Dominick Reyes going down to Ryan Spann.
Superman Spann.
Crazy.
Knock this motherfucker out with a jab, straight jab.
Before we go into that, I wanted because I have a lot to say about Ryan Spann, especially with his crazy ass post-fight interview. But I wanted to talk about Dominick Reyes now 4 losses in a row, 2 by vicious knockout. What is next for this guy? Is he in the UFC? Is he sticking around?
If I'm Dominick Reyes, I leave the UFC and go right to Bellator and get a title.
And you're being dead serious.
I'm dead serious, bro. Like, if you're going to stay in the UFC, you need to drop your level of competition or you're going to keep getting knocked out. He has the Chuck Liddell effect. I'm not going to harp on that, but I feel like if you've been knocked out viciously by some high-level guys, you need to either lower it or leave.
I don't see he was complaining about being on the prelims, and I don't see how after this performance he doesn't get lower than that with lower competition. And if that's the case, I agree he should exit and go to an organization where he has a better chance at becoming a champion like Bellator or PFL, make $1 million at PFL. He could have a great run over there. But again, PFL and Bellator have really tough competition too.
He's in the same position that Robbie Lawler's in. Not that Robbie Lawler gets knocked out like that, but you have a big name and guys are going to be fucking gunning for you. You're the only guy who beat John Jones. Everybody wants to make a name off of your name. So none of your fights are going to be easy no matter what level they're at. The best thing this guy could do is leave. Go to a different organization so you can still be a star.
I want to ask you this. Now, Ryan Spann, Superman Spann, the boy from Texas, this guy said on his post-fight interview, he hasn't trained more than 3 weeks for a fight. How fucking crazy is that?
Bro, those Texas boys, they got fucking power. It's that Southern fucking power, bro.
No,
that is crazy that he has
I'll let you get into that, but his last fight, he lost to Johnny Walker by elbows to the head when he shot him for a takedown, comes back, knocks out Dominick Reyes with a stepping jab. What do you think about his training? And do you think that he should step up because he's about to get a step up in competition?
Listen, I think he knows that he's stepping up by taking this fight camp serious. And it shows you how lethal that guy is when he's putting all of his effort into a sport. You can't be a professional athlete on any level and not train. I mean, you can do it, but it's only going to last so long. So I think he's making the right move by getting a real training camp, working hard, he looks in phenomenal shape, and he must hit like a fucking truck because that was crazy.
What do you think? Real quick? What do you think about him? Because he made 206.5. Do you weigh on the 0.5? I don't really weigh on the 0.5. If you make the weight,
no, I think that
and you're a point over. I don't really see that as a miss.
Well, I think the conversation was that he didn't realize that they only had an hour, because I think other places they give him 2 hours, so the timing was off. But regardless, bro, that comes in with training, and you're gonna fine tune that. I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think Dana White's worried about that. It's a fucking pound and a half, bro. Like, I'm not worried. Hamzat missed weight by like
they're allowed to weigh in at 206, so he missed by only a 0.5, half a pound.
Regardless, Superman Spann's a fucking problem, and he's already been fighting high level competition. Now, I have a question for you. Now, on the main prelim, which should have been on the main card, was Renato Moicano taking on Brad Riddell. Moicano is a fucking problem, bro. People, like, what he said in his post-fight interview is how I feel about him. Give this motherfucker some respect. Put some respect on his name. I said the same shit he said. You guys called me to go fight RDA, a 5-round fight on short notice. I did that shit, and it was a competitive fight. And now I'm out here just strangling these guys. He made light work of Anthony Hernandez, and then he just beat Riddell, who's a very good striker. Where do you see him moving up to?
I would like to see him move up, and like you said, put some respect on the man's name. He's been in here a long fucking time, and he's been fighting high level competition since he's got to the UFC. None of these Brazilian boys get a chance. It's not like these American guys where, oh, let's see what you got. We'll put you against this guy or that guy. This guy came into the UFC with a black belt, so they threw him right into the lion's den, and he's come out 50-50, right? You know, the hard part about doing that is you're going to lose some big fights, but he's also won some big fights. And right now he's on a 2-fight winning streak. He beat Hernandez. He just beat Brad.
No, he beat Hernandez, lost to RDA, and then he just won this fight.
Okay, well, I mean, again, 4 days notice, you travel fucking 24 hours across the globe to go fight RDA in a 5-round fight, and you could see every bit of it in that fight because he got cracked some big ones in his eyes. Dude, he would shake his head like, okay, fuck, I got caught. But you could see it in this fight. You could see how calm, confident he is against Brad Riddell, who's a fucking amazing striker. He used to be the Muay Thai coach over there in Thailand at Tiger Muay Thai. So you know this guy's coming in with some great striking game. And Moicano put him away early and fast. I think put some respect on his name. Get him into the top 15. If he's not already, get him into the top 15.
Yeah, if I'm Moicano, I'd be asking for a big fight like Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush. I'd be asking for any of those guys because even Rafael Fiziv's open right now. That would be a really good matchup.
I think, well, he already got knocked out by Rafael Fiziv, and that's the problem. That's where he had a setback originally. And it was a close competitive fight. Rafael caught him with a big overhand left and a left hook to follow it. He went down straight right on the way down. So he made it decisive on the way he finished it. But I agree with you. Put some respect on this man's name. Give him some bigger fights. Maybe Michael Chandler would be a good fight for him. Maybe that's the fight. Dude, that would.
If with a full training camp, this guy's extremely dangerous. But
I think he's extremely dangerous. I think he should put some fucking respect on the guy's name. I think Renato deserves it. When you're a vet for as long as you are in the big show, fighting as much talented people as he has, and winning a lot of those fights, put some respect on the guy's name.
Okay. Regardless, UFC 281 was a stat card. Lots of finishes, lots of action. Don't forget, guys, hit us in the comments. Let us know what you guys thought about this card. What you guys think is next for these top tier fighters. Hit the bell icon to be notified when we drop more content, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Haters talking shit, yeah, they breath stank. Walk up in the club dripping like I'm fresh paint. I can see through the facade like an